Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. This is actually going to be the first episode of 2025, and it's quite funny because we're not in 2025 yet when we're recording this, right? But we're gonna have to fast forward, go in the TARDIS, and fast forward to 2025 because Happy New Year, Happy New Year, everyone. Um, but yeah, the first episode of 2025, joined with Kirsty, um, where Kirsty's going to be talking about her journey with IBD, yeah, just a journey in general, really. And we're also going to talk about a little bit about Doctor Who a bit later on, because before we started this, we talked about it for a fair while. So we're going to start with Kirsty's journey first, and then a little bit later, but we'll get into Doctor Who. Right, Kirsty, would you mind just doing a little introduction of yourself?
So I'm Kirsty. I'm 34 and I'm from the west coast of Scotland.
Yeah. So how does it feel, um, being Scottish?
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
absolutely phenomenal. I
yeah.
get such pride in being Scottish, to be honest. And I noticed that my accent gets stronger when people ask me questions like that. Like,
Yeah.
but no,
Yeah.
there's a lot of pride attached to being Scottish, I have to say.
Yeah. I went to Scotland once. I went to. It was actually the first holiday I went on a plane. I went to Edinburgh.
Yep.
Yeah, I went to
So
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh is the east coast.
Yeah.
It's maybe about 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours away from me, and they have a completely different accent as
Yeah.
well. And it's really funny because throughout Scotland, like different places have different words for the same thing. Do you know? There's a years ago there was a huge advert about is it salt and vinegar or salt and sauce?
Yeah.
Do you know? West Coast we're salt and vinegar, East Coast it's salt and sauce, and that was a huge advert at one point as well when I was growing up, which is quite funny.
Yeah, that's quite funny. Um. So, yes, yeah, yeah. That was in 2017, I believe. It might have been 2018. I went, and it was in October, and it was freezing.
Yeah,
Um.
well, it's cold most of the time in
Yeah.
Edinburgh, particularly. We generally get about 1, maybe 2 days of heat. It's, but I like it. I very much prefer the cold. And I actually find that with my colitis, cold suits me better because if I'm too warm, for some reason, I find a lot of my symptoms are more active. So I quite like being in Scotland and it being nice and cold.
Yeah. That's good then. Good place
Yeah,
to be. It's a good place to be if you like the cold.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I like the cold or not. I mean, I probably not, but like, if I'm moving about, I'll probably be all right. Like, if I'm just standing there in the cold, it's not very good, is it?
Yeah. No, it
Um,
can be a bit cold, football matches and stuff when you're outside, but generally it is a nice, I think it's a nice cold that we get up here. Whereas kind of on the west coast where I am, we don't get a lot of snow and stuff though, which I do miss. But more kind of the central belt or kind of east coast, I find they seem to get a lot of the snow when it comes to winter. So I
yeah.
think that's the only downside to where I stay.
I keep getting on where I am, like on the weather all the time. It says expect blizzards all the time, right? And I haven't got any snow yet, so I'm expecting it maybe soon, but I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows when it'll occur?
You never know. So how do you want to start about talking about your journey? Do you want to start from the beginning? I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah, I would generally just start from the beginning. Um, so I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 1997. Um, I always talk about this because I remember the day so vividly that I get admitted to hospital. Because schools had just gone back after the summer holidays, and the way that my primary school worked was we had a really kind of like the clever folk did math, and then like down on the floor, and then other kind of pupils in the classroom would be sitting at their tables working through stuff, and we were sitting doing the two times table, and my teacher kept asking the question, do you know what 2 times 1 is this, 2 times 2 is this, and it got to 2 times 6. I kept putting my hand up and I'm like, pick me, pick me, pick me. And it was for 2 times 6. And she went, and what's the answer, Kirsty? And I went, I don't feel well. She was like, okay, but what is the answer? And I was like, it's 12. And then I don't know if it's just a Scottish thing, but anything could be cured with a wet paper towel. So I sat at my desk and all my kind of friends, they either put their cardigans on me because I was too cold, or they put hundreds of paper towels on me because I was too warm. Um, and then kind of things happened and I ended up being admitted to hospital. But my mum and dad, speaking to them over the years, they've wondered if I've had this condition since birth, because they've always kind of comparing sort of like what my nappies looked like compared to my brother's. I was always kind of a bit looser. You know, there was just something a bit more odd. Um, and then for about a year before that admission to hospital, there had been an increase in the frequency of going to the bathroom. There'd been an increase in the amount of accidents that I was having, and they had noticed that I'd started to pass a bit of blood, and they'd contacted out of hour services, and I believe they were advised by out of hours that because I was going to the toilet so much, I had essentially just ruptured a blood vessel or burst a blood vessel. So it will pass in time, it will resolve itself. Don't worry about it. But things obviously got progressively worse. And there was about a 2 week hospital admission, and then loads of outpatient appointments and tests and investigations that I don't remember a lot of. And then it was the November 1997. I think my parents got told of the diagnosis. Um, and then I generally have blocked out a period of time from probably December 1997, generally until about 2007, do you know, 2007. I think I've just blocked out a lot of that time because I thought I only had one admission as a child, but my mum and dad were saying actually every couple of months I was back in hospital for a weekend. I would go for an outpatient appointment with a consultant, and he'd be like, "No, sorry, Kirsty, you're being admitted for the weekend." But I remember none of that, so I think I've blocked a lot of that out. Um, and I do remember that when I was about 11, I think I started to become well, essentially, until I was around about 17 in 2007. And then I was under a lot of pressure at that time because for Scottish schools, you know, when we go to from 5th year to 6th year, which was when I was 17 going to 18, we start applying for universities, we start, you know, trying to really get the grades that we need to get into uni to do the course that we want to do. And I started to become really unwell again. I had shingles when I was 17. I then had the winter vomiting bug. And then there was so much stress as well because I wanted to go do nursing, but I didn't have the grades at the time I was applying for uni. So I knew I'd get a conditional offer. And I was like, I really need to make sure I get these grades. But I was just, everything just sort of plummeted again. Do you know, I think at most I stayed a 20-minute walk from my secondary school, but 4 out of 5 days a week, my dad had to give me a lift to school because, you know, for some reason, bang on 8:30, I had to run to the toilet. Um, and then the length of time that I then took in the toilet meant that I would be late for school. So my dad would get me there just for the bell ringing, and then constantly going in and out of classrooms, constantly asking the teacher, like, can I go down to the toilets? And at that time for my school, there had been an abuse at the toilets, really, where a lot of kids were just going there, skiving classes and mucking about. So the toilets got locked during class time, and they were only opened up when it was the official breaks. And that put the fear into me because I was like, I can't get to a toilet. I'm going to be going where I'm standing. Like there's no holding it. My cousin actually has IBD as well, and he jokes about the 10-second rule. Do you know when you get that urge and you go to the bathroom to go in? But I do have to say at school, teachers were really supportive, school secretaries were really supportive, so they would let me use the disabled toilets or the staff toilets if I had to go during class time. And then when I was at university as well, it was really stressful because for the first time, I had gone back onto steroids actually. I'd been on steroids when I was from about the ages of 7 to 10. I think I'd been on and off steroids. And then when I was 17, I get put back on steroids. And I also get put onto mercaptopurine. Um, and I can't remember the exact family of drugs that that belongs to, but do you know it's an autoimmune or it's an
Yeah.
no, the condition's an autoimmune. It's an immunosuppressant. That's a difficult word to say. Immunosuppressant. Um, and they told me to, you know, to be aware of flu-like symptoms in contact if I'd felt unwell, but I was very stubborn, I do have to say. And so I always thought I could sleep these symptoms off. I think it was round about my 19th birthday. I was really unwell. I was due to start a placement with uni as well. And within an hour, I think I had been to the toilet every 2 minutes. It was a constant. Any toilet we passed, I was like, I need to go in here. I'm really sorry. I need to nip into the toilet. I'm really sorry. Do you know what? I remember the mentor I had. We'd went out to do a home visit on this placement, and we'd passed a supermarket, and I was like, really sorry. I need to nip to the toilet. And then sitting in her car while she was carrying out a visit that I wasn't allowed to join her for, and I was like, I really need to go to the toilet. Like, I really need to go to the toilet here. Um, and so she dropped me off home, and I'd been to my GP earlier that morning, and he phoned me back that afternoon. He was like, "You need to get yourself up to hospital right away." It transpired that I had neutropenia sepsis, and I was like, "I'll sleep these symptoms off. Don't worry about me, parents. I'll sleep this off, whatever it is. I can do this." And I think that point, see, I was 19, the end of my first year at uni, and I had sepsis, and I was like, what? This is quite a significant condition to have. And I don't think I'd really appreciated the magnitude of having an autoimmune condition until that point. And then it was around about that time that my health board had a nurse endoscopist who had an interest in IBD. And so she sort of took on the role of an IBD nurse essentially. And she got involved in my care and treatment. And she was phenomenal. Like, I cannot praise her highly enough. She was so holistic in her approach to things. She was able to relate to things that I was going through so much. And she was able to advocate for me in a way that I'd never experienced before, or I never realised could happen, because I didn't have the best relationship with my consultant, but she very much would advocate for the fact that, you know, I was a young female, I was at uni, I didn't want to be defined by ulcerative colitis, I didn't want to be defined by taking time out of uni to because I was so unwell to be there. And she really advocated for how inappropriate the use of steroids was a lot of the time, but that was always, I think, my experience, and a fair few others with IBD have experienced that steroids are the first line of treatment. You know, oh, you're going through a flare up, there's some steroids for you. Oh, another flare up, we'll just increase those steroids. And I had been in that cycle for so many years. It worked out. I'd been in that cycle for about 10 years, from 2007 till about 2017. There was a constant stream of steroids, reduce the dose, start having a flare up, a couple of months later, steroids, and it just continued. Um, but my BD nurse, she was great at trying to look at other medication options for me, trying to look at options that didn't include surgery, because for me, that wasn't an option I saw viable. My confidence levels, my self esteem, my self worth, all of it became defined by IBD. I self stigmatized growing up so much about having IBD and how it's this disgusting condition. It's a horrible condition to live with. Do you know, how can somebody go to the toilet 20 plus times in a day and still get up during the night to go to the toilet? And do you know what? And I really just self stigmatized it all. And so for me, do you know, late teens, early 20s, a stoma was just not what I was going to entertain under anything. I was like, unless I collapse and it's like life or death, stoma is not for me. Thankfully, my outlook has changed. I do have to emphasize that there. My outlook on a stoma has changed dramatically. But my IBD, as I say, my IBD nurse was phenomenal. And during monitoring that you go through for IBD, I was getting my liver function test kind of regularly monitored. And in 2010, I was diagnosed with a liver disease, primary sclerosing cholangitis, which is related to my diagnosis of ulcerative colitis. And again, my experience of that wasn't the best. My consultant informed me via a letter. So there was this massive long diagnosis with an even bigger medication that I had to take. And I was just like, what is this? And again, it was something that happened actually while I was on placement. I was training to be a nurse. And I read this letter on placement and I said to the ward manager of where I was like, I can't focus. Like, this has just shocked me to the core. Like, I'm so consumed by this. What is this? And the ward manager on my placement, they kind of went, right, Kirsty, this is my office. You sit in there for as long as you need. Do some research. Phone whoever you need to phone. Don't worry about being a nurse. You know, a student nurse today. You need to be dealing with this. Um, and that was amazing as well because she even went off to do some research of her own just to see where she could signpost me to or what she could offer comfort wise and things. But again, it's like being 20, being diagnosed with your second autoimmune condition.
Yeah.
And again, one that's quite stigmatizing because when you talk about liver disease, people think alcoholic.
Mm.
And you just kind of thought, I'm 20, like I must have been started drinking at 11 if I was an alcoholic. Do you know, if I had caused that much damage to my liver? Um, but again, my IBD nurse had been phenomenal and kind of going, do you know what, Kirsty? That was an inappropriate way for you to be found out. Do you know what? I'll speak in your behalf to the consultant and tell him this. And do you know what? This is where you need to go to look at information. And this is what your medication is going to do for you. And she just really took that information on board. And she really started to, when I was 20, and then also because I was doing my training to be a nurse, I started to understand more about patients being able to advocate for themselves and that it's okay to not agree with your consultant. It's okay to have a different view from your healthcare professionals. You know, there should be enough respect in that relationship to listen to each other. Do you know, yep, medical expertise, but patients have that patient expertise, that lifestyle expertise that, you know, they understand that impact it has on their functional ability. And I really found that my IBD nurse understood the impact that IBD had on me as a person. Didn't matter what any sort of clinical outcome showed or what any clinical test showed. If I didn't feel well within myself, that had to be looked at. Couldn't just go based on a blood result or what a scope was saying. And I then kind of started when I was 22, I think I was. I started to volunteer for Crohn's and Colitis UK, and I went, you know what, I'm going to start sharing my journey, my experience a bit more as well, because when I was growing up with my diagnosis, it feels really strange to say the internet didn't exist. You know, Facebook didn't exist, Twitter didn't exist. So these online support forums didn't exist when I was growing up. And then when I was about 18, 19, Facebook started coming around and joined these forums. And so many people were speaking negatively about their experiences and how, you know, unfortunately they had to give up their work or they had to give up university. And really the symptoms that they were living with had such an impact on their functional ability. And I remember when I was kind of older and wiser at 22, kind of thinking that's quite frightening to only see negative information. And I thought, you know what? I've managed to gain my first job as a nurse and I've managed to get my degree, you know, I've got a distinction with my degree. I've gone through 3 levels of education while living with 2 different health conditions. I'm like, we need to share out there that there can be some positive experiences with IBD. Um, so kind of as I say, started sharing my story around about the age of 22 and haven't stopped since, to be honest. There has been a bit of a blip with me sharing my story because I've been really, well, I say I've been relatively well. I actually haven't been that well with the condition. I had a major flare up in 2014, which then led to me being prescribed the biologic medication. So I had my first experience of being on infliximab, and that was horrendous because I felt like I had flu after every single infusion. But again, I had actually a really supportive boss and really supportive conversations through work. And they allowed me to have like a Friday afternoon be my infusion day so that and I chose this. I would be unwell at the weekend. I would sacrifice my weekend so I could then be fit enough to do my job Monday to Friday, for the next 6 to 8 weeks, be unwell for a weekend. But then during that time, I was also able to, volunteer with Crohn's and colitis. I started volunteering at my local theatre. I was able to, I've been involved in choir since I was 11. I was able to continue to be involved in choirs and stuff, and I was able to get some sort of life back. But then, since kind of 2014, for me, it then sort of became the realization that my liver disease has an impact on what medication can be prescribed for my colitis because my liver isn't going to be processing medication the same way as it did, like 10 years ago. So, really starting to take more of an awareness into medications that I'm prescribed and really trying to say, I don't want to feel like I've got flu every 6 to 8 weeks. I'd actually quite like to not have that experience. Um, but unfortunately, again, during COVID, I took really unwell with my colitis yet again. But essentially, I just became, I stopped responding to the medication. I just built up a tolerance level to a biologic medication that required to be changed. But that then started the whole steroid spiral yet again. I was like, here we go. IV steroids, oral steroids, um, say changing medication, but also my IBD nurse retired, my consultant is retired, and as of yet hasn't been replaced. So it's kind of that sitting with no IBD support at the minute and just kind of thinking, right, I need to be able to advocate for myself. What has my IBD nurse done for me in the past that's helped me be the person that I am today? So that, and I know I'm very fortunate with my GP practice that if I phone them up, they will ask me the question, what is it you need? How can we help you manage your IBD better? How can we help you manage your liver disease better? And I know I'm very fortunate that I can do that. Um, but lately I've been doing a lot of work volunteering wise around a cross party reference group in Scotland about IBD. And it's looking at implementing the IBD standards and making sure that they are available across, all health boards in Scotland. Because I don't know what the NHS in England is like, but certainly for NHS Scotland, the IBD standards aren't being met fully, or it's a bit of a postcode lottery as to what your experience of IBD care is. And obviously, Crohn's and Colitis UK have kind of published loads of research and documents to kind of say this isn't good enough. We need to do something about this. So it's great being a part of those conversations. It's great, being someone who is in a position where I feel quite strongly about raising awareness of IBD. I'm very passionate about improving services for those with IBD because I also think that for all I've had a relatively positive experience with ulcerative colitis, there have been some bad times as well. I was transferred over to adult services when I was 12 years old due to a change in funding and service provision within my health board. And no 12-year-old should be transferred to an adult consultant at that time. My pediatrician, he would meet with me, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, however often it was. But he understood that I was a child and I didn't understand health. I didn't understand living with a condition because I was a child. I wanted to do childlike things. Um, So he would allow, my mum and dad were allowed to come into my appointments with me, and they were allowed to ask the questions on my behalf, and they were allowed to kind of talk on my behalf as well. And then when I moved to adult services, my parents weren't allowed to come into the appointments with me anymore. So I was being told all this information that I didn't understand, I didn't appreciate, I didn't know how to process it. So I then didn't pay attention to what side effects a medication could be, or I didn't want to actually talk about my symptoms because, to me, in my head, being a 12-year-old and then, obviously a teenager, a bowel disease is disgusting to have. Like, I don't
Mm.
want to talk about how often I need to go for a poo. I don't want to have to talk about the fact that I struggle to hold things and, I maybe have accidents and I need to take a change of clothes with me. I don't want to have to acknowledge that to somebody. Um, so I would underreport a lot of my symptoms, so then obviously not get the care and treatment that I required. But as I say, I was 12, 13, I was a teenager, you know, going through teenage things, hormonal changes, and living with a long term condition. Like, you don't want to talk about these things. Whereas, if there'd maybe been a transition period, or if certainly I know there is now, a child and adolescent service for IBD, but if I had access to that when I was younger, that might have made things slightly easier for me. So it's kind of thinking, right, nobody should go through that again. I need to be involved in consultations and conversations around this. It's also those conversations around, you know, pregnancy, around, like your sexual health, your mental health. There's no real support around that when you're in your appointments with your consultants. They're very much what's your symptoms? Okay, your bloods say this, your medication's this dose. Right, you're fine, we'll see you in 6 months to a year. And then that appointment gets cancelled and you're just kind of left sitting there, but while all the while your life is still living, it's still moving on and you're still trying to work, you're still trying to pay your bills and have a social life and do all these things that everyone else does, but you don't have the energy levels to do them the same way that your friends do. One of my best friends, he's very much a spontaneous guy. He'll wake up in the morning and be like, right, this is what I want to do today. Kirsty, you coming with me? And I'm like, no. And it's taken, many years of having conversations to kind of go, I don't have the same energy levels as you. I can't be that spontaneous because the anxiety that I have, especially if it's going out somewhere new or somewhere that doesn't have toilets easily available, it fills me with fear. And then those symptoms of anxiety that I get, or those thoughts of anxiety that I have, then I do believe then cause the physical symptoms of anxiety for me, which is I then need to go to the toilet. And I then, because I'm panicking about going to the toilet, I need to go more and more and more. And then it's like I just get myself into such a tizzy and into such a frenzy that I'm thinking, I'm just going to sit in, not do anything. I won't spend any time with you because it's safer to be in the
Mm.
house. And then that isolates yourself. And then isolating yourself then causes your mood to dip. And you just get this big circle. But there's no support for that unless you're part of an online forum. You've got nobody to talk to go, I'm actually struggling with mental health here because I'm dealing with this and I've got nobody to talk to. Like, my peers can't relate, because one of my friends actually, we were out 2 years ago maybe, and we were just out for the weekend, kind of socialising and drinking, and we'd left a pub and we were going to get the train into the next town, and the train was delayed. And she'd acknowledged when we were in the pub, she needed the bathroom. And then it took us 40 to 50 minutes to get to the next town because of this train delay. And then she went to the toilet, and I was like, you were able to wait 50 minutes before going to the toilet. I was like, I wouldn't have lasted 50 seconds to do that. And I was like, people with IBD really don't get to live the same life
No.
that other people do. And because as I say, my best friend's really spontaneous and he's a get up and go guy. As I say, my friend, she was able to wait 50 minutes before going to the bathroom because there was none available, and that's okay. Like, I'll just wait and we can have a blather, we can have a chat, I'll be fine. You think if I had to wait 50 minutes, I would be doubled over in a ball. I would be crying. there would be the sweats, I'd have the fear, and I'd be like, this is it's a different world we live in.
15
And
minutes doesn't sound long, right?
no,
But it is, isn't it? Like, I remember once I went for a procedure. It was either colonoscopy or endoscopy. I always get confused because it all sounds so similar. But I had an enema, which makes you go to the toilet. You can either have that or you can just be sedated.
hmm
So I wanted to try it. I wanted to have a go at having the laughing gas, right? Because I wanted to see what I preferred, and I probably
hmm
preferred the sedation, because of the laughing gas, because I don't know, I just like the feeling of it, and I said
yeah,
to them, they didn't give it to me, because I was just saying I'm having it because I want it, because it makes me feel good, but then it didn't make me feel good when they stopped giving it to me because when I was in pain, so they couldn't do it properly, but because you can either have the drink, right? You can have the drink that's horrible that makes you
yeah,
go to the toilet. Or they had me give me enema at the hospital, which was okay, okay. And then when they give me the enema, they say to me, try and not go to the toilet straight away. Try hold it in, so you don't have to go to the toilet straight away. And I said, oh, is that easy then?
yeah,
I can hold it in. I was like, okay. And then I'm on the bed. The toilet's near. It's right there. I was like, one, 2 seconds. Then I've got to go. I've got to go. And then I sat there, right? I sat there for about 15 minutes so I didn't have to get up again. Because I know, because of what people have said, it makes you go to the toilet up and down, up and down. So I just sat there. Just sat there and waited till it's all gone.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's crazy when people say that, like, try and wait. I mean, surely you shouldn't try because that will make it worse. Um,
yeah. That'll cause, do you know, because then again, do you know, I'm aware of some folk who have kind of held it in, like they maybe won't go to the bathroom the entire day they're at work because of whatever's going on for them. But then they end up with blockages or they end up nearly perforating their bowel. You think, see if you just gone to the toilet when you were at work, you wouldn't be in as much pain as you are now. You wouldn't be in hospital as like right now. And again, with like the colonoscopies and the scopes that you have to go through, a lot of my friends, they're quite amazed that I have to say I need to go for one every year. And they're like, but you just had one. And I'm like, I know, but they need to monitor me. Um, because particularly, you know, there's a lot of research that kind of says the younger you're diagnosed with IBD and then the longer you have it, the higher your risk of cancer becomes. Fair dues, it is only a small percentage, do you
yeah.
know, 0.0000 whatever, but there's still that risk there. And colonoscopies are a great way to monitor what's going on in the inside. But the discomfort you have to go through and then the different types of prep they give you. And I actually have it specified on my notes that I get, I call it Picolax. I don't know how it's actually pronounced
Yeah.
because we had switched over to Moviprep and the thickness of it and then the smell of it, I would vomit and I wouldn't take the full amount. And then I would go for my scope and the reports would always be could not complete scope, you know, bill still, bill not fully cleared. I'm like, that's because I haven't been able to take the prep because I've basically vomited it all back up.
Because
Like,
it's
give me
definitely
some.
15 minutes, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
when you take each drink. Because when I first had it, because I was empty anyway, right? Because I was for my Crohn's, I wasn't eating anything, so I thought I don't need to do this prep. So I did.
yeah,
I did about half of it. I couldn't do the other half. It was too bad. So I tried to do it with squash. Didn't take any better. And then I was literally saying to my mum, "You're poisoning me because it takes me 15 minutes to drink one glass."
yeah.
And then
And then
you're
you
giving
need
it
to drink
again.
that prep over an hour, 2 hours, and it's like I don't want that anywhere near me.
Yeah, and it didn't make me go to the toilet at all. I
Yeah,
mean, it didn't make me go. And I thought there's something wrong. No, so I was just empty anyway.
yeah,
So and then I think to myself, was there any point in then me doing it if I was
yeah.
empty anyway? But just to be safe.
I've had that before as well, where like it's not done anything for me, the movie prep. It's just, if anything, you know, as I say, it's made me be sick. I'm constantly
Mm.
sick with it. But and then there has been days where I've not gone. Like even after the scope's meant to have been, I've still not gone to the toilet because I don't know. I think my bowel just gets scared and it's like, nope, we're not going to go. Um, but yeah, and then obviously with my liver disease as well, I need to go for kind of yearly ultrasounds. They used to do kind of regular biopsies as well, but thankfully I've not had a biopsy for a while. The ultrasounds been picking up anything that it needs to pick up, and my blood results are kind of, for me, they're stable. Do you know, if my mum was to get her blood results done, do you know, they'd show as abnormal, but for me, they're abnormally normal, as I like to say. It's the same with like my inflammation markers, they are abnormally normal. Um, in my last scope, I think I had it in March, no, April this year, is or last year, by the time this goes out, was basically showing that I've got mild colitis. And I actually think that's going to be my level of normal from now on. I don't think I'm ever going to fully get back into remission just because of how unwell I've been over the years, particularly during COVID. So I think during COVID, I was in and out of hospital for a significant period of time. And, you know, was very much asking, can I be considered for a stoma? Like, I can't keep coming in and out of hospital. I can't keep going through IV steroids because IV steroids make me loopy. Do you know, I'm completely spaced out. I'm not in control of what I'm doing. Like, I kept buying random stuff off Amazon and I was just like, I don't recall buying any of this. And the insomnia that you get off the steroids, and it's like, I can't keep doing this. And I can't keep being prescribed medication that then doesn't work after, 2, 3 months. Um, but then thankfully I'd met with like two surgeons to talk about my options because I had really wanted to get like a J pouch.
Yeah.
Um, one of my good friends, she's got a J pouch and she speaks very positively of it in her experience. And I quite like the idea of not having a bag visible because again I've got lots of issues with body image and self esteem that I'm working through. Um, and then due to like my weight and my liver disease, there's too many risks associated with a J pouch for me. And I was like, okay, need to consider actually having a colostomy bag. Like this is going to take time to process. Let's reach out to people and have those conversations. And then I managed to, or my body started to respond to the medication I was prescribed. So a stoma's at the moment on hold, but it's now, after several years of learning about my condition, learning about how my brain works and thinks about things and processes things, I've now got to a point where I'm like, if stoma happens, it's not the worst thing in the world. Do you know? Because certainly going back to when I was younger, when I was a teenager, not having a good relationship with my consultant, the way he conveyed information to me made a stoma seem like the worst thing that could possibly happen. But then it's actually, as I say, my experience during COVID in particular, it's kind of made me go, do you know what, actually, stoma's going to give me your life, like my life back. I'll be
Yeah.
able to be spontaneous. I'll be able to kind of have better energy levels and maybe have a bit more flexibility about how I structure my day because I'm not going to be so focused on where's the next toilet, where's the nearest toilet. Because certainly within my hometown during COVID, so many shops shut, so many toilets then shut with those shops. And there was one day I had gone to the optician and I'd made an appointment for early in the morning, which I knew was a risk, but I was like, do you know what? Mind over matter. You can do this. You can go to your optician at 9 o'clock in the morning. But then 9:30, that urge took over. 9:40, I had the sweats and I was like, I need out of this shop and I need a bathroom. And then I was like, where's the nearest toilet? I actually don't know where my nearest toilet is anymore because I think there are two public toilets in my hometown now, and there used to be six that I could easily think of. I can go there if I need to. And I was like, in the middle of town, I was like, oh, where can I go? And then I
Yeah.
genuinely, in my head, it was like, if I need to go here and now in the middle of the town centre, that's what's going to happen. Like,
Yeah, you got to go wherever there is one. I know there's an app on the phone called Toilet where you can find all the
Yeah,
different
it's
toilets.
out of date for
I was like,
my
oh,
it's
date.
yeah, it's out of date for my area because I was using it. Because it highlighted a local train station which had been closed for repairs and doesn't have toilet facilities at it. And I was like, well, that's not where you can go.
Oh, it's useless.
Um, but
Yeah,
then thankfully, I'd went to Waterstones and they had a toilet which was used for customers only who were in using the coffee shop. But I had my can't wait card with
yeah,
me.
yeah.
And I was like, really sorry, I've got to go. And the woman, like, I could have hugged her because she went, absolutely, like, just go. But then, I know other people have experienced it where they've shown their can't wait card and then they've been met with this huge rules and regulations
Yeah,
things. And
because they don't have to. It's not law, is it? It's not like you
yeah,
show this card and you can like I've done it before. So I've been in like a restaurant or somewhere, and then they're saying it's only staff toilets here, and I said
yeah,
no. But what I would do, right? I would test them to see if they would let me in. I say, "Can you use the toilet? I need to go," and then I wouldn't say
mhm,
anything. I see what they said. They said, "I've got Crohn's. Can I go still?" So I don't know what that is. Then I show them a can't wait card, and then they look at it, then they let me in. But they don't have to do that. Like
yeah,
there was also a time I went to Cardiff, where 60th anniversary was filmed last year. You know, the bit in the Giggle episode where the doctor meets a toy maker for the first time and then he dances with
yeah,
him. That part. So
yeah.
I went that part of Cardiff because I wanted to recreate a few things, a few pictures where I knew it was going to happen. So there's a toilet. I drove up to Cardiff, needed a toilet because took hours to in the car, and this place was the nearest place nearby, and no one was in there. It was a restaurant, and said to them, can I go to the toilet?" And it was like, yeah, yeah. I explained everything, Crohn's, and
Mhm.
I desperately needed to go. And I was in there a while, and then I think the lady who allowed me to go in there said, "Is everything all right?" Like maybe I wasn't. Maybe she doesn't understand. It might take a bit longer. So in my mind, I was thinking I've got to rush, but at the same time, I just want to relax. You know, you don't like to feel rushed. And that's what sometimes you can feel if you're using people's things if you're asking them if it's not maybe for public news because like when you go to restaurants you feel like you have to get something, don't you? Like if you just
Yeah.
go in there you feel like you have to go and get a drink because you're in there and
A wee cake or just a wee something.
yeah,
And generally, I kind of base it on how the staff approach me when I've gone in a panic. I need to use your bathroom. Um, I will. I do have to say, 9 times out of 10, I have been quite lucky that I've been allowed to use the staff toilets, or they've kind of shown me to the nearest disabled toilet or whatever. But you do get that odd time where they just look at you as if you've got three heads,
yeah,
and it's like it's a human function. Like everybody needs to go to the toilet. Like we
right,
don't all have that luxury of being able to hold it. And then certainly in one of the old shopping centres in my town, it was very run down. It was god awful. I think they would in the main female toilets, there would maybe be one or two that actually had you could flush that had toilet roll, was guaranteed to always have toilet roll and have the toilet seat on it as well. They were just diabolical. And I again it's kind of been inbuilt into me, because I don't look sick, because I'm not in a wheelchair, I can't use the disabled toilet. And then it's one of the few occasions where I do kind of go, do you know what? I've got an invisible illness here. I have a bowel disease that means, I am going to take longer in the bathroom. I do need actually a bit more space than a normal cubicle can provide me. I will use a disabled toilet. But then you get the look of who do you think you are using that bathroom? Like somebody more deserving was needing it, and you think you don't know, you don't understand. Like,
that's happened before when I've been in London once and where there's toilets there I'd use one as disabled, and I have a right to use toilet. I'm disabled as well.
mhm.
And then this person, I can hear them outside arguing, saying, "Oh, I need a toilet. Why are they in there? Well, they're not disabled and stuff like that." So I didn't say anything to them, I think they looked at me in disgust, like, why am I using one? I'm not in a wheelchair. Only wheelchairs should use that. I think that's even what they said. And then I looked at them saying, don't judge people like I'm as disabled as you, believe it
Hmm.
or not. Although you may not be able, you may struggle to. I didn't say this, but I thought it. Or although
Yeah,
you may be able to walk, it doesn't mean that you warrant it any more than I do. I know some
yeah,
people will use disabled toilets for the sake of it if the
yeah.
public toilets are full. It's the
Hmm.
same like what you said at school. Like people mess around, that's why they shut them off, and
Hmm.
people
Yeah,
do. Maybe me or you have in the past as well. Even though we need to use it, sometimes we may not like a lesson, then we'll just go to the toilet for just for that.
yeah.
People
Just to
do
leave
that.
there, just to get some
Yeah,
time away.
yeah. We've all probably done that, but it doesn't mean you don't need the toilet. Um, and yeah, so it's really annoying. And some toilets have those signs on now, don't they? Not everything is visible, which is really
Yeah,
good. But still, people think not that wheelchairs don't use it. I mean, I've helped people in wheelchairs get in because they don't. I've stood outside with I went to a Comic Con and stood outside because the person don't lock it. You rarely find people in a wheelchair locking it because they struggle to unlock it because if anything, like I don't like to lock doors either, because you're scared to get
yeah.
out. Um,
I've
but
also unfortunately had an experience. I had gone to a concert and we had managed to get seats kind of really close to the disabled toilet. And I was like, that's great. Because I was going through a flare up at the time. And I went to the disabled toilet. I had a radar key. And then staff member decided to unlock it and use the toilet. And I was just like, occupied? Like, hello? And I remember shouting to this guy, but because as I could hear them like unlocking the door, but because it was a concert, obviously couldn't hear very clearly. And he just looked at me like, oh, what are you doing using the toilet? Like, I'm staff. And I'm like, I'm disabled. Like, and I'm using a toilet. Do you know, a door was locked for a reason. And again, that's sometimes reasons why, do you know, females go into is because toilet doors, the locks are often broken. Or I do genuinely, I don't like some of the toilets because you can open them from the outside. And I'm like,
yeah,
I can't, I hate, I've got such a fear of people walking in on me. But at the same time, I'm like, do you know what? If you walk in, it's your own fault. Do you know,
yeah, I know
doing
what you
nothing,
mean. I
using the toilet.
always prefer to use the disabled ones because I don't like the public ones. I don't like people.
Yeah,
I don't like people in there and hearing them do their business. And yeah, there are too many people in there as well, and it's not good for like health as well. You don't know if these people got a bug or anything. And at least in disabled, you're on your own. Um,
yeah.
and
And it's like the whole washing hands thing as well, because I was in Glasgow a couple of weekends ago and do you know, I've been using public toilets and I picked up some sort of stomach bug. And it was like because somebody hasn't washed their hands. Do you know, and normally I do wear long sleeves, so I'll use my sleeve to open doors and stuff, but on this occasion I didn't. And I was like, you don't know like how but people just don't realise the impact that that then has on other
yeah,
individuals.
that's the
And you
thing.
know,
That's the
getting a
thing,
stomach bug.
right? Like bugs is picked up with so many things. I know people. Sometimes you may think, "Oh, you're over the top with doing this," like washing your hands all the time. Even when I'm in, I always bring soap out with me, so I always tend to use my own soap rather than touching handles or no touching the soap in the toilets. But I think the worst things are is those handles, and especially like in the escalators, people touch that. Um, and once on the
Mm.
escalators, right, when I was younger, Marks and Spencer's. I don't like escalators because of this reason. So I didn't hold on. I don't like holding on to them because everyone's touching them. And then I had these long trousers on and I tripped, right? I tripped. I fell down the escalators. And you know what everyone done? You know what everyone done? They
Wow.
moved out the way. They
Oh, the
didn't
move.
st Yeah, they moved. Like they still me fall, right? And
Mhm.
they're moving out the way so they don't touch me. So well, it's like a film, kind of like you're falling down the escalators, everyone's moving, and I'm at the floor. So I've got all these cuts and bruises on me, and it was terrible. I mean, at that time, I didn't have Crohn's, so it wasn't as bad, but
Yeah.
a lot of infection and stuff and catching other things. But Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I thought at least if someone stopped, it would stop me falling, and then I could
Yeah.
get up. But yeah, I mean that's the reason I don't like escalators as well as the germs.
I don't like escalators because when I was younger, I don't know what age I was, I had missed my footing and ended up doing the splits going down the escalators, and it terrified me ever since. And my partner, he winds me. He does it for a laugh, but then he does apologize. He stands backwards and kind of like wiggles around, and I'm just like, "You're gonna fall." I'm like, "Just stop," because they just terrify me. Just the going down, like I can handle going up, and I can be okay at not using the railings,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's going down. Up's
It's
okay.
going down. I cannot do it. Absolutely cannot do it. And I actually remember there was one when I was in Glasgow. I think the day I picked up that bug, we were shopping and we'd been in and out of shops, and all of us, it was the temperature of the shops. As I say, I don't know why, but when it's too warm for me, do you know, my bowel gets a bit more active. I've never understood why. And we were going, it was cold outside, roasting inside. And I think we'd got to about the third shop, and I kind of went, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm like, this is where we're going. See you later. And then a lot of my friends have now, certainly now that I'm older as well, I'm more comfortable talking about my bowel disease and how often I actually need to go to the bathroom. And I'm generally just like, I need to leave. You'll find me in the bathroom. And I just leave them and I just go away. Because it's generally, it's at that point where I'm like, I can't, as I say, we've said before, like, I can't hold it. Like, we don't have that ability the same way
No,
a healthy person does. It's
like
just,
there's some toilets in cities as well that you have to pay to
yeah,
use the toilet.
the relief that I found when Glasgow Central, you no longer have to pay to use those bathrooms. I was delighted. I was just like, I want to live here now because I used to hate the fact that you had to put your 20p in and then it wouldn't take your 20p's and it'd be like, I just really need to go to the toilet. But
Silly, isn't
now,
it? Silly you have
but
to
now,
pay.
I've actually noticed now as well that certainly for Glasgow Central, the toilets are far cleaner than they've ever been since they got rid of the payment. And I'm like, this is just people don't appreciate how much I enjoy a good bathroom, a nice clean bathroom.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Especially when
oh my
people
God,
flush the
I'm
chain.
fine.
People
Oh,
flush the chain because some people don't. I mean,
oh, I know. And I've never understood why somebody leaves a bathroom in so, like some of the states that do. I had gone to the Transport Museum in Glasgow once, and I was going through a flare up, so I'd used the disabled toilet, and it was covered, absolutely covered in fecal matter, and I went, "This is disgusting." And I was like, but I was so desperate to use the bathroom. I was like, let's just try and hover, not touch what, avoid what I can. And then I went to the staff and I was like, I'm really sorry to tell you this. I was just like, but this bathroom is covered. Like, I do not know what's happened. And I was like, but it's not fit for humans right now. Um, and you could tell that they were mortified. And you just think somebody has to go in behind you and clean that up. Yes, accidents happen, but do what you can to
there's a
clean up
toilet
behind.
there for a reason. You don't need to get the whole room like
You don't need to do it on the floor.
that.
And you were talking earlier about how like hand hygiene, you can maybe be a bit over the top with it. I actually have. I was trying to see if I could find it. I got these wee things off of Amazon, and it's this disposable toilet like soap. So it's like wee sheets that when you put water on it, it then turns into soap. Because I was like, the amount of times I go to a bathroom and there's either no toilet roll or no soap, and I'm like, nah, I'm taking my own. And I'm going to download for my first time ever. I'm going camping and going to download, and I'm like, the toilets are giving me the fear like 6 months in advance, and I'm already looking at what toilet roll I can take down with me, so I've got my own supply. And I'm like, how much alcohol gel am I going to have to take down with me? Like, can I get those disposable toilet seat covers? You're just
Yeah.
like, just because you're at a festival doesn't mean
Yeah,
hygiene goes out the window entirely.
yeah, you're gonna need to use it. I know, like, it's silly. Like, I feel some people don't think of it if they're not have a reason to. So if they don't have any illness, they're not gonna worry about it. And I would think if even if I didn't, I was like this before I was diagnosed anyway. Um, when I was diagnosed, I was 17, turning 17. And one thing I analysed, right? I watch because I go to the football and there's a burger van there And I watch like because people give the money to the people, they take their bun, and I watch. Are they gonna put it on the cloth that they like when you get like a burger or a hot dog, they put like a piece of paper with it so you hold it. Are they gonna hold it? Are they gonna wash their hands first or anything? Are they gonna wash their hands first? Or are they just gonna hold it? So the majority of them hold it, right? And then I go to the ketchup or mustard, and then I pump it, right? Then I put it on, and then I eat it. So they don't wash their hands. They don't wash their hands any. They even put the hot dog on the table, and I don't think
Table. Ugh.
yeah, they're not going to be clean. Although workers might clean it, they're not. I don't
No.
like when people with money, right? If they have money with the food. And
Hmm.
although they might have a cloth on, they're still handling the money. If it's
Yeah.
contactless, fair enough. But if they're handling the money, it's like with ice cream as well. If I'll have an ice cream, I always prefer to have a tub now rather than a cone because they're
Yeah.
touching
'Cause
it. They're touching the
yeah.
cone. They're touching everything. So even if they did do that, they'll have to change their gloves, um, and then do it that way for me.
Yeah.
So it has to be extra precautious because stuff like that you can get ill by. It's easier
Yeah.
like that, easier stuff like that.
And do you know, a lot of people just don't appreciate it because it's the same like with a cold. Within my family, we generally joke that a cold for me will always turn into a chest infection because I don't have the same immune system that
Yeah,
everybody else does. Do you know, there is that suppressed immune system there. And it's like out and about, people just don't appreciate that coughing without covering your mouth. Do you know,
yeah.
like
I
I
always
think
look,
even
I always look at people. I always look at their people and say, why not put your hands on their mouth?
yeah, I think you do become so hyper vigilant. I think particularly when you have an autoimmune disease, but then if you're prescribed an immunosuppressant as well, you just
Yeah,
become so hyper vigilant of hygiene because anything can make you ill. Because
that's right.
I genuinely I don't understand how I managed to get gastroenteritis during COVID because I was shielding and I probably didn't cook chicken right. It's probably is how I got it. But I just think that put me into hospital. Do you know? Do you know, maybe not the imminent event, do you know, but I think it was like the weekend after I
Yeah,
was experiencing, I was just like, I'm not recovering from this because I've got bowel disease. So it's taking me longer. Like, and it takes longer to bounce back from things because you don't have the same immune system that, you know, for me, like another 34-year-old, I do not have their same immune system. I haven't had the same immune system as any of my peers. Do you know, say I was diagnosed with one autoimmune condition when I was 7. The second one came when I was 20. Like, so I don't have that same ability as everybody else to just bounce back. I can't power through things the same way other people can. Like, I need to have that balance. I need to plan things like, and it's driving to a location to then go to doing a social event. That's going to take me like 2 days to recover from. Do you
yeah,
know, I don't like people at the best of times. So, do
yeah. I
you know,
know
when
what
I
you
go out
mean.
socialize, you need to do that mental preparation of, you know, this is going to take a load of energy out of me that, you know, I maybe didn't have before. Um, I need to prepare for this. I need to know that I need to store some energy somewhere, and I'm going to have to reserve it by, you know, not doing this or not doing that, and then trying to explain that to people. And even, you know, after 27 years, it's still a struggle to explain it to some really people that are close to me. It can still be a struggle to say to them, you know, don't I can't do this because it will destroy me. Like I'll end up having to take time off my work sick, and I
Mm.
don't want to be off my work sick.
Yeah,
You know, and
it's
getting that
hard.
balance can be so difficult.
It's hard because even today actually, I had an alright night's sleep, and then I'm I'm sleeping later on. I'm having
Mhm.
a nap in the day, and then like I don't know, you just nap in the day. And I
Mhm.
never used to do it. Before had Crohn's, I do now. Like even if I'm doing nothing, right, I'll just fall asleep. But even
I've
worse if I
noticed
am doing something.
I definitely do need a wee nap in the afternoon because I lag later on at night. Like on a Sunday is the perfect example because I tend to on a Sunday I won't do much. You know, I'll do the general housework and get things ready for work. But if I don't have like a wee half hour rest, maybe not even a nap, but just a rest, come 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, I am goose. Do you know? And then I take my nap at like that time, or I try and go to sleep. But I'll then wake up at like 8:30, an hour and a half later, and then that's me wired to the moon because I've had my nap later on in the day, and then I don't sleep well that night. So then the next day I feel sluggish. That then makes me my fatigue worse because I'm already struggling, and it's just this constant recycle. And it's like, how do people live? Like, how do people just get up and go and do things? I would love that.
Yeah, like I remember once there was this work. I did some work experience once, and to go to the toilet, I had to get unchanged and everything I was wearing, right?
Hmm.
Take it off. It's not that easy as well. It's all connected like this big onesie kind of thing. So I had to take it all off. I want to go to the toilet, and it's annoying because for me, I have a schedule of what time I go to the toilet every day normally.
Hmm.
Um, Normally in the morning. It never used to be in the morning before Crohn's. It was at night. So
Hmm.
it's changed, and I would have to start there, like get there at 7 or something. Probably start at around that time. Start maybe
Hmm.
at 9, and then it's annoying because it takes me a while when I wake up to need to go to the toilet. So I'll be say I haven't gone, and then I'll be worrying that I haven't gone because I know it's coming. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to take everything off and then go to the toilet, and that's the annoying thing because it has to be hygiene with what you're doing, but taking everything off is a task.
Hmm.
It's a task putting it back on. So it's annoying. It is annoying.
Yeah.
When that happens.
I quite often, so I find that I've got like different pains with my colitis, and I can kind of understand. So I've got irritable bowel syndrome on top of IBD, and I very much know when it's an IBS type pain or niggle that I've got compared to it being an IBD thing, but it took about 10 years, I think, to understand. But I've always noticed that I sometimes describe it like, you know, when you get like a really tight jar and you're trying to unscrew it and you know it's going to loosen off eventually, but you don't know when. I cannot stand it when I've got that type of pain because it's so unsettling, it's so unnerving, and you think, when is this going to happen? Am I going to be out doing my shopping or maybe, you know, at or am I going to be in a meeting? Those are the occasions where I struggle to hold it in more. Like I would actually much rather have really bad diarrhea because I find for some reason I can hold that better than I can when you have that sensation of I need to go to the toilet. When is this going to happen? Because it's not happening now, but it's going to come. I can't. I can't stand that type of pain. I really cannot stand it, and that's the best way I've found to be able to describe it. It's like you get that tight jar, trying to open it, and it's not budging, and then you know it will loosen, but you don't know when. I can't stand that type of pain.
That's it.
And I would love to have a schedule for going to the toilet, like Sheldon Cooper.
It'd
Do
be
you know,
nice, wouldn't it?
I would love that, but never happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it is annoying. So does hobbies help with your ulcerative colitis, do you think? Like and stuff.
It helps in some ways because I think it helps remind me that there's more to me than just being ill and worrying about where a toilet is. And I think as well it gives me a chance to escape. Because my main hobby is performing. It's like whether it's musical theatre or whether it's being in a play, I enjoy that escapism because for 2.5 hours, I'm not Kirsty who has IBD or PSC or anxiety, depression, eczema, you know, didn't sleep well the night before. Whatever I'm rehearsing for, that just kind of takes over. You know, you just get lost in the moment. It's the same when I was like doing choirs and singing. You just get lost in the moment and you just forget all those stresses, all those worries, they just go away. I do take on too much at times, but the good thing about, as I say, I think finding the musical theatre hobby when I was older, because I was then at a point where I was more talkative. about my colitis, it's made it easier to say to folk, actually, you know, I'm done. I can't, you know, I can be present for rehearsal tonight, but I need to sit down.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to stand up because, do you know what, energy levels aren't there. But is that just that form of escapism, and it helps with my mental health, which then in turn helps my physical health, I think, which then makes it
Yeah.
slightly easier, when flare-ups do happen, or when, my fatigue's really bad. And I always remember years and years ago, and I don't think the girl realizes how much of an impact it has, but I was going through a really rough time, and she came up to me one day. I think she said to me on the Saturday, she's like, "You doing okay, Kirsty? Like, you're looking a wee bit peaky." And I did my usual, "Oh yeah, I'm fine, don't worry about me." And then the next day, or no, like 2 days later, she came back to me again. She was like, "Kirsty, it's like, you're still looking a wee bit peaky. Are you sure you're feeling okay?" And because she worded it the kind of, "Are you sure?" it made me go, I can actually say to you, no, I'm not doing too well, actually. Like, this
Yeah.
is happening, that's happening, the next thing's happening. And I genuinely don't think she realizes how much it meant to me. Um, that in that moment, I could have said to her, actually, I'm experiencing a flare up or whatever, but it made a huge difference. And that's just the type of relationships that you
Yeah.
get to build up, within musical theatre or, the choirs, because they don't know your day to day life um, the way like your other friends do or your family do. So it provides that opportunity again, I guess, to kind of go, actually, I've got bowel disease, or actually, I've got liver disease. Um, and then it allows that conversation to go, really? Like, what is that? Um, and you think it's just those wee glimmers, it just helps. And then again, for somebody who's still stigmatized their bowel disease for a lot of their life, there's a huge comfort there in
Yeah.
that. Um, and I genuinely don't know what type of person I'd be if I didn't find my musical theatre hobby.
It's hard. It's hard to talk to people who don't know about it because sometimes you don't know how they're going to react. Even if they have asked how you are, you don't know if they're going to react badly to that or they're going to act okay. So I guess you never know till you say to them. But sometimes it is a task yourself to explain because
Yeah,
it's a long story. You don't know what to say. Should I say this or should
yeah,
I say something else that because they may still not understand and they might still have more questions even if you say something to them. So it's
yeah,
hard, but it's good at the same time because if they don't know, you're teaching them.
yeah. And as I say, I think it just helps that lend it just the way that it was phrased, are you sure you're okay? And I think it was that, you've asked me twice. That shows that you've shown an interest. You
Yeah,
actually have shown a true concern here. You're not just being polite about it. You actually have that concern, or that wee worry that's lingering there that you just want to double check. Because for again, having been diagnosed at 7, I only know a life with ulcerative colitis and primary sclerosing cholangitis. I don't know any other life. I don't know what it's like to not have hospital appointments or to not plan going places based on where the toilets are or watching what I eat because I know it's going to upset my stomach. Like, I know no other life. And then a lot of my friends, they only ever know me as, oh, Kirsty's in hospital again. Oh, Kirsty's got another flare up. Oh, Kirsty's not feeling too well. And you just kind of think it's nice and refreshing. We're having different hobbies where people don't know that side of you completely unless you want to share it. Um, so yeah.
yeah, but it's good. It's good when you decide to share it. Like
Mhm.
sometimes it can be good to share because if you
Yeah,
don't share. Like if like, probably at the start when you was young, like you probably didn't want to tell to anyone because you're young, you was at school and you just want to try and enjoy your life as much as you can, not be pointed out as the person who can't do anything.
yeah,
Because that might have been how you felt, but as you got older, you've got used to it and you said it's
Mhm.
not going to go away, so I have to find a way to deal with it, and I have to find a way to maybe talk about it. And you probably didn't know there's more people out there around the world that have it as well, so that
Yeah.
maybe helps to talk about it as well.
It, it does, and I think as well, when I kind of started to kind of go, do you know what? I'm going to start sharing my story to help raise awareness and to have those conversations. The amount of people that then go, oh, do you know so and so's get that? Do you know I have heard of this condition? Because so and so's get this, and it's helped as well. I think challenge the stigma that's around bowel disease, and that it is more than just a pooping disease. Do you know? Because
Yeah.
with IBD, you do get the joint pain, and I remember a couple of years ago during one of my hospital admissions, like the inflammation, when I've got a flare up, the inflammation does kind of go towards my joints and my hips get really painful, my lower back gets really painful. And at times I do need to, use a walking stick just to help me get about and be able to do so without making myself feel worse. And I remember like going to a concert and a lot of people who know me through musical theatre stuff kind of went, God, Kirsty, like what's happened? It's kind of going, part of ulcerative colitis is my joints are inflamed and painful. Like this, having this stick, it just helps me do what I want to do and not experience negative consequences. And you kind of see them go, it affects other areas too. You can just see that kind of light bulb moment happen and you think, oh, this is bigger than I thought it was. Oh, this is more concerning and more whatever than we realised. And
Yeah.
it's also as well like a lot of friends or even colleagues over the years have kind of gone, Kirsty, we've got, this concern, this is what my bowel habits are like. Like, can I talk to you about this? I know you'll understand, part of where I'm coming from. And it's like, I know you won't mind me talking in detail about this because now I've got no filter about it. I probably should in some situations, but
Yeah.
there's generally no filter. But I think that then helps other people go, do you know what, we can approach her and talk to her with something in depth, something quite gory or something that's a bit embarrassing. Do you know what, we can go to Kirsty and talk about that because she's happy to share and she appreciates this sort of thing. And I think that then helps open up those wider conversations about health that people don't like to have but need to have.
Yeah, I agree. And so, how would you say you're doing at the moment?
I would say I'm kind of about a 7 out of 10. Um, it's more fatigue and joint pain more than anything that brings me down. Um, I think in terms, as I say, I said earlier, in terms of my colitis, I think it's the best it's ever going to be. There are the odd day here and there, but it's more the fatigue and the joint pain that snookers me at the minute.
Okay. Yeah, I experience that. I always with my joints, they're always clicking. I've got hyper mobility, so that they're
Yeah,
always clicking everywhere.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and that ache. Because I've always liked football, and I've always tried to help coach it, but I can't because I get too sore. Um,
Yeah,
I get too sore. So if I play, I can't do anything for like 3 days.
yeah, because that recovery period.
Yeah.
uh,
It's like I kick the ball and then I don't know if it's something to do with the hypermobility, but I get all bruises everywhere, get
mhm,
cuts. It's not because of doing the football. It's not nothing fierce or anything. But it's just can't do it.
the way
But
your body reacts.
yeah, my body relax. And I remember once actually when I was at college and there was doing this indoor football game. Um, and I was quite good. I was quite good at football. Everyone wanted to pick me on their team and stuff
Mhm,
like that. And oh, it was going on too long, and I think I was trying too hard. And then there was a final. My team got in. I couldn't do it. I couldn't physically do it. And then the thing that annoyed me was the teacher knew I had Crohn's, right? But doesn't know the full depths of it because he said, "Are you gonna let your team down?" Because I weren't taking part. So part of me didn't say anything. I just
mhm,
said, yeah, I'm not going to talk to you because you said that. No, I just said that.
mhm.
And then I think a bit later on I did take part. And then I talked to him I think after saying, why, what? you shouldn't be saying that. I mean, I sat down because not because what you were saying. I sat down because
Yeah.
I physically couldn't deal with it. I was too tired. I could fall asleep. You know, when you're doing so much and you could virtually fall asleep. That's how I felt, and you understand. And so, yeah, that's one of the things. If I try too hard, I fall asleep.
Yeah. And it's like you're constantly trying to get that balance of, being able to enjoy yourself, being able to live a life to the best of your ability and not be restricted by your health. But at the same time, you need to not do too much because if you do, your health's then going to suffer. And you then get into that cycle where people misunderstand and they judge you, and you just kind of think, what else can I do? Like I'm trying to
Yeah,
the best of my ability, do what I can with the limitations that I've got. 'Cause I always remember as well a choir concert that I did, a choral concert, and I said to the conductor, and I was just like, I really want to take part. And he was actually fundraising for Crohn's and Colitis UK as well. And I was like, I'm desperate to take part in this because obviously it's very personal to me. And I genuinely could not stand for so long because the pain that I was experiencing, the excruciating cramps that I was having, and then the joint pain. But he got me a seat. He was just like, you can sit. You can sit and sing throughout the entire concert. That way you're still able to take part, but you're listening to your body and you're doing what you can to stay well. And I'm just like, thank you so much. Like
yeah,
wee things like that mean so much. Just have that wee suggestion, put that wee accommodation in, and don't judge. Be open minded.
yeah. That's
You
it.
know.
I completely agree. Well, that's really good advice, actually. I don't need to ask you advice now because you just said it. Yeah. So the last two things want to go. Let's talk about a little bit about Doctor Who. I know we did before we started, but just for
Oh,
the
I love
podcast, Ju-
that.
just for the podcast. So when did you start watching it?
I so I started watching it actually when I was, probably about 8 or 9. The reruns were on BBC Two, and I think it was Tom Baker's Doctor that
Yeah.
was being shown just a rerun. So I remember snippets of watching them, but it was Christopher Eccleston coming back in 2004, 2005. Um, he, I kind of say, for all David Tennant's my favourite Doctor, Christopher Eccleston is my Doctor. He's the one that brought it back for me and the one that got me excited about it.
It was good, wasn't he? Chris
I
Eccleston.
loved it. I'm disappointed he only stayed for one season, but at the same time, I don't think the story would have progressed the way it did if he'd done another series.
Yeah.
I know there was stuff going on back behind the scenes as well for him, but I think he's he was the perfect Doctor to come back to bring back, Doctor Who and to restart it to allow, David Tennant and Matt Smith to take it to where it is today.
Yeah, I think Chris Eccleston is a very underrated Doctor.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed him.
Yeah.
Um, I think had some really good episodes in it as well. There's only probably about one or two that I thought that they're all right, but they're not the best. But apart from that, the rest were really good. Like I loved the finale, like with the Daleks. That's
I
brilliant.
cried so much during that one. Do you know when Rose is like revving the engine to get the TARDIS open so that she can get back to him, and then that the message comes up, it's like Rose Tyler, this is emergency, blah 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 blah. And then there's that point where he just, it's the hologram and he's looking out, and then he turns and looks at her, and I'm like, oh, chills. And
Yeah,
then
so good.
Rose Tyler just, she's it's a cross between her and Donna Noble for my favourite assistant or companion.
Yeah.
But there's something about Rose and the relationship she had with Christopher Eccleston's Doctor that I just loved so much.
Yeah, I think Rose and Chris Eccleston was a better match than Rose and the Tenth Doctor. I think they worked better. I think because I don't like the when they fall in love. I did maybe then, but
Mhm.
now I look back, I thought it's not too good because I think they focus too much on that. Um,
Yeah.
and that's why I liked the last series. I liked it because like Millie Gibson Ruby is like a best friend or like a friend for the Doctor. You know, you don't see the romantic there, but with it's weird. It's the same with Clara, you know, Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
It's the same vibe as Rose, because they've transferred. It's opposites,
Mhm.
kind of, isn't it? So, like
Yeah.
with with Christopher Eccleston, it was like father figure to Rose, but then
Mhm.
when the 10th Doctor come on, it was like a love match, which didn't make
Yeah.
sense because they're the same person. You could be freaked out, wouldn't you? If, say I regenerate, I'll say your partner regenerated into an older person, you may not see them as your
Yeah.
partner anymore because they're much older
Younger.
or they're a
And
different
I'm still the
person.
same age.
They're
Yeah.
they're they're a different person. But like with Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor had Clara for a little while, and then
Mhm.
it went for Peter Capaldi. Um,
Yeah.
so you see it that changed Clara's outlook. So it
Mhm.
was a bit different there. But yeah, it's weird when that happens. I like it though when the companion sees the regeneration. Um,
Yeah.
it hasn't
And
happened a
they're
lot.
and they're not too freaked out by it either. Like I loved Donna Noble when I can't remember the name of the episode, but obviously the Doctor regenerates and then his hand as well regenerates an entirely new Doctor, and you can see her like, what has happened? Do you know? But I just loved Donna's. She was just such a refreshment because I can't stand Martha as a companion. She was just like a lovesick puppy, and I'm thinking, oh, I can't be doing with this. Whereas Donna was just such a refreshment, and then they had such a good relationship, a really good dynamic,
Yeah,
and the confusion in Donna's face because the Doctor was regenerating, and Rose and Jack had obviously seen it before, they knew what was happening, but she didn't. But then when the Doctor was able to come out from his hand, you know, she'd be like, right, I know what this is, but how has this happened again? Like,
yes, it's a very good episode. I remember watching it and then had to wait a week to see what happens. Um, and yes, I really like that one. I liked it because all of them come back, didn't they? All of them. Um,
I liked that Mickey came back as well, and he was very much his own character. He wasn't lovesick for Rose anymore. He'd established himself in Torchwood and the alternate universe, and he was very much protector and defender of the planet, and he no longer pined after Rose the way that he did when she was first went out with the Doctor, like in season, well, the new season one. When Christopher Eccleston was there and she was off
yeah,
exploring, and he was, oh, Rose, 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 Rose.
yeah,
He was just very much,
yeah.
he grew into his own, and I love that development for him.
I felt Rose was kind of mean to him though,
Yeah,
wasn't he? Like
or
as
she was
soon
too
as
far.
like the first episode, as soon as the Doctor comes along, I was like, right, bye. That, 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 that,
She was
that,
away.
that's how the first episode ended, right?
Yeah,
And if she actually loved him, you'd be like, come. And when I think I don't know if it was Christopher Eccleston or David Tennant, but one of them asked Mickey if Mickey wanted it could come, and then Rose was like jealous or
no,
something. It's like no. I think it was.
yeah.
I think that was a school reunion episode with Sarah Jane was there because Sarah Jane didn't say yes. I kind of wish she did because it would have been nice for her to come for a few episodes. But saw her later on anyway. Um,
Yeah.
but
And she got
I
her own
loved her.
series as well, Sarah Jane.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. She didn't like her, did she?
no,
I like Rose. She's probably one of my favourite companions, but sometimes I thought she was a bit. I
full of
didn't like
herself.
her sometimes. Yeah, she loved herself. She just wanted the Doctor to herself.
Yeah, definitely. But no,
But
I did like her, and I really did enjoy the episode where, again, I can't remember the episode name, but like her dad just came to kind of catch her when they're putting the Daleks into the voids, and her dad's there with a,
oh
you
yeah,
know,
I
time
remember
jumper,
that.
and he just grabs her. But then they both just break their heart because she's like, my life is now changed forever. And obviously, like David Tennant's there as a doctor going, well, that's another one gone.
Yeah,
Like, I now need to try and find a way to progress again. Um,
it would have been more sad if we never saw Rose again after that.
yeah,
because we did, isn't watching that again and again. It's not as sad. It was sad first time because we thought, oh, we're not going to see her again. But
Yeah.
because we can, it's the same with like when Donna lost her memories, right? And that's even more sad than probably Amy and Rory, I think,
Yeah.
at the time. But now it's not sad anymore because
Yeah.
of what happened in the 60th. Because how her memories come back, which was kind of silly, really. How
I know.
how I believe, right, or what I should have happened was because the toy maker come back. It should have been a game with the toy maker to she can get her memories back, but she's got to complete the mission, or she forgets them again. That's what they should have done. I think they should have done that rather than Rose and Donna saying, whatever they said that we defeated it being daughter and mother. I think that was a
Mhm.
bit silly. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, it was a bit kind of far-fetched, and it was a bit kind of like, for me, it was just very woke, and it was just like, it was, I get why he did it, but it was unnecessary at the same time. Like, there were other ways
yeah,
to
better
do and
ways.
to celebrate Rose and Donna, saving the day, and Donna not dying because she got her memories back. you know. And I always remember when we were talking earlier, one thing that annoyed me about the 60th specials was that the toy maker was defeated by a game of catch. Like, throughout the entire episode and the build up, you know, you thought it'd be something spectacular, like a really complex maze, or like a really weird riddle or something, but it was a game of catch that
Yeah,
defeated him. And you just kind of think,
it's kind of had that same vibe, hasn't it? From like, so you've got a game of catch defeated the toy maker, but let's say put him in the box because he's in
Mhm.
a box. Um, in that same episode, we saw the tooth of the master fall off him as well.
Yeah,
Which is on will probably come back at some point. But Maestro got defeated by the Beatles that were hardly in it, right?
yeah,
That was simple. Um, the Sutek got defeated by being a dog, basically. So all it seems they're all doing it, and I hope it's not just like the whole time shoot you get was the Doctor because it's very easy to predict this now. Like
yeah.
which I don't like. I like it, but I don't. It's too fairy tale, isn't it? It's like it's too. You predict that. Oh, he's good. He's gonna do that now. He's gonna do that. It's gonna be short and quick.
Because it's like with the previous seasons, you kind of think, yeah, you could always predict that the Cybermen and the Daleks would come back, but you could never fully predict how they were going to be defeated or how they were going to come back. But you could kind of, you could really sense that fear in the Doctor as to like, the Daleks are back again, like Davros is back.
That's it.
I need to, what am I going to do? Because I've tried and I've done it again and like again and again and again. I thought he was gone. Whereas I actually say it was very fairy tale esque,
Yeah.
the
It's like at
last.
the start they all disappeared, didn't they? I think at end of the Legend of Ruby Sunday. We all know because of all the people they took, all the main characters. We all knew that they were going to come back. It was so obvious. What they should have done to make it more, let's say, better, is actually they should have killed some people. Like not kept them all. Um, that's what they should have done. Not everyone survived, but they did. They all come back in the end. Even that guy that got caught in the in the vault thing that he died. That officer.
Yeah,
Um, he even came back. So
he did.
uh,
I don't
yeah,
remember his name, but yeah, he did come back as well.
yeah. Maybe they should have got rid of Susan Twist because it's not like she's gonna come back again. Um, But yeah, and that song, I mean, in the Devil's Chord, right? I mean, it was good, but it was catchy in that, but it had no relevance. It
Yeah,
had no relevance.
why was it needed?
I don't
I have
really.
to say, Jinx Monsoon was phenomenal in that episode.
Yeah, I
I've,
liked her.
honestly, I was blown away, absolutely blown away by her performance.
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be another musical episode in the next series.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think there is. But yeah, Jinx Monsoon was the best thing about that episode.
yeah,
Right. But the thing
definitely.
I got confused about. And I'm not the only one. Because Jinx Monsoon, I think, is trans as well, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that boy, I think she identified as a she and a he right at the start, like with the other guy that she was talking to, and she was identifying herself as a he and a she. So it was really hard to see what she was identifying as because obviously she's been a he and now is a she. So he was going, I'm a he, a she, a he, a she. So it got really confusing to the point that I didn't know what Jinx Monsoon was talking about or Maestro was talking about
Hmm.
at that point. So at points in the series, it has got confusing a little bit.
Yeah. I think there's been too much focus and stuff that hasn't had to be focused on because the Doctor's always been inclusive. Do you know,
Yeah,
right throughout, always been inclusive. That's what makes the Doctor so sort of accessible to all and enjoyed by all, is because he is so inclusive, or the Doctor is so inclusive.
yeah,
Um, and things like focusing on,
yeah. Um, so what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite series?
I think it would be Christopher Eccleston's. It's the one that always, if I want a comfort watch, I do always start back there, and I'll always maybe pick out just certain episodes that I want to watch.
Yeah,
And I think it's the one I've watched the most.
yeah, it's a good series.
Yeah.
Chris Eccleston's one. Do you have a favorite episode that you like?
Um, yes. But now that I've been put on the spot, I'm like, do I?
Hard.
um, I think it's actually, again, I can't remember the name of it, but it's where Mickey and Jack Harkness joins them, and it's to do with the Slovene.
Oh yeah, I know the one you
Um,
mean.
I think from there to the end, those are my favourite episodes. And I think I like it's because they include Mickey. They don't, they kind of poke fun at Mickey, but at the same time, they include him. Jack's there as well. Um, and it's just a good vibe. Do you know, kind of like the four of them together, but you can still tell that it's Rose and the Doctor. Like they are the two important ones, and you
Yeah,
can tell that Jack and Mickey get a bit jealous of their relationship and a bit envious.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I think series one is actually hard to pick a favorite episode.
Yeah.
Because those are very good. Most of them are. Um, like with series two, I felt series two probably was the worst of David Tennant's run as a Doctor. Because I thought series three and series four were his best ones. Because looking back, I did really enjoy series two. It's really good. I loved the Get on the Fireplace. I love certain episodes in it, right? But I felt it had, looking back, it has too much Daleks in it, right? You have a two-part with, I think, the Daleks and Cybermen, then you have another one at the end, and there's not much of a story to that one. It's just going on adventures, isn't it? Um,
Yeah.
it's a bit like the recent series, like you wouldn't have to watch anything prior to understand. Um,
Mhm.
but the one with Martha, I mean, I quite like Martha, but the thing about that series is, right, I felt that the Doctor was very dismissive of Martha being there,
Yeah.
and I think that's why she maybe got a bit jealous of going to different
Mhm.
places Rose went, because the way the Doctor was with Martha wasn't the way he was with Rose,
No.
and
He was
although
very much pining for Rose throughout as
yeah.
well.
And I think that was the annoying thing about that was that the doctors always mentioning Rose all the time, and it get annoying. I mean, it'd get annoying to me, but it was always like, oh, I took Rose there, oh, I took her there, and she's like, what? Not because yes, she fancied the doctor, Martha did, right? But it's not because of that. I mean, you would want to go to different places. You're
Hmm.
just going to the same place you took someone else. It wants to mean more to you to go to
Yeah.
different places, not just the same ones.
Hmm.
Um, so I think Martha's really underrated, but her being jealous maybe doesn't help with liking her. But I do
Yeah.
think her character had a big improvement with her being
Huge.
at the end.
Oh, huge improvement. And I really did enjoy her sort of the finale, with the Master as well.
Yeah, I
With
liked
Martha,
her.
like those were some of my favourite episodes as well. For all I didn't like Martha, I loved that, do you know, and I do admire her development as well throughout the series.
So, but out of anyone in that era, right, that should come back, I think Martha should because she could because of Unit now.
Yeah,
Martha could easily come back out of all of them. Like we've
yeah,
seen Donna. I think Martha was probably more relevant to come back than Mel did,
yeah,
because it would have made more sense. And there was lots of predictions. Oh, Martha could have come back then. She might well do at some point. I don't think Rose should. I think Rose's stories is
done and
done.
dusted.
Same with River as well. Like there's always talk about River coming back. Um,
That story's done and
it's
dusted.
done. It's done. But the actor would come back for sure if
Yeah,
she got asked. I know she
yeah,
still watches Doctor Who because I went to a Comic Con just before um, the episode was airing. I think it was the first one. And so you're going to be watching Doctor Who at the weekend because it was coming on the weekend. So you're going to watch it? And it's like, yeah, I definitely am. And I heard someone else say to him, "Do you think you'll ever come back?" And I said, "It's possible because David Tennant's back now, so I
yeah,
might be able to." But I feel like if anything, a spin-off would be the best for her. If anything, if they still
yeah,
do these spin-offs about certain characters. Um, but yeah, I think certain people's stories are done, but Martha is still out there in the open. Like she could be doing
yeah.
anything. Like she's not trapped anywhere, unlike Rose. Rose is trapped in a parallel universe.
Hmm.
Martha can just come in, a bit like Captain Jack did that time. He just
Yeah,
came in and came out.
just come in and go back out. Come in and go back out, and it'll be fine. Do you know?
Yeah, out of all
Kate
them,
does that as well. She comes in every so often, and then she goes back out, and they still
yeah,
reference the general and stuff. And it's like that's what Martha could be. Do you know?
that's what it could happen. I don't know if it will, but I do think they need to focus on what's happening now. Then,
Yeah,
if they did, it would be with Unit, with the new
yeah,
Avengers headquarters, um,
yeah.
which is quite cool. But another thing about the recent series is one thing that was really lacking was the TARDIS, right? The whole thing about the TARDIS, which is probably a lot of the budget was spent on how big it is and how cool it is. Like I always loved it at the start of episodes. You know, we saw it in Space Babies, but we didn't really see it much after it, where you're seeing a TARDIS zoom in. You're in the TARDIS, setting it on to get to the location, and when you're leaving as well.
Hmm.
Rogue especially, you get there, they're in the ball, and then you hear the TARDIS. You see, or maybe you might even he's going to go to the TARDIS next. And I was hoping that to happen, but it never happened a lot. I think that would have made it a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Especially how big it is as well.
I know. Because it's been such a huge focus because obviously it's a big blue box. It was of its time in the 60s, so it could blend in, but obviously it doesn't now. It very much stands out. So, and more so now, in 2024, 2025, you don't see telephone boxes in any colour anywhere. You don't see police boxes. Like, some folk won't even know that they existed once upon a time.
No,
So it is going to be more relevant now to have the TARDIS feature more
yeah,
and be that odd thing at the end of the street. What is this? Why is it here?
I agree. I agree. And but although in the 60th with the Star Beast, the best scene probably of the whole lot was probably when he looks around the TARDIS. The Doctor looks around it like a little kid. I think that was a really good scene right at the end. Um, it makes everyone really happy. Um,
Mhm.
but I think the best episode of this new era so far is probably going to be the Giggle. Um,
Yeah,
I'd say
I
if
can still hear it in my head.
yeah, yeah. Even with the bi generation, I know
Yeah,
like with the Doctor being a human, like living his own life, doesn't make much sense really because the Doctor's always said I don't do that, and
I know.
over the years he's decided to have Christmas dinners and stuff like that. But I still think it beats all the recent series, which is a shame because I was hoping it's not a 10 out of 10 episode. No episode's been out 10 out of 10 for a while. Um, but it's good, the giggle, and it hasn't been beaten yet. And I always want it to be, right? I always say I want it to be beaten or
Mhm.
as good as, right? Um, but last thing before we go,
Mhm.
do you have a favourite, I know, like Christmassy episode that you like,
Um,
or you just like them all?
so I actually can't think of the
No.
Christmas episodes as standalones.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Like you've
You know,
got like the David Tennant ones were really good. I like them
yeah.
ones.
I'm looking forward to seeing this year's. Well,
This,
I say this year's, obviously
yeah,
2024's.
yeah, last year's
Yeah,
already been and gone. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but no, because I love. Oh, I'm so bad with names today. The actress
Oh,
that's in it, she's in
oh yeah, the
that.
Nicola Cockler.
Yes, I have loved everything I've seen her in. So I'm really interested to see how she is in Doctor Who because I've not really seen any of the spoilers or any of the trailers for it.
You haven't seen
Um,
anything.
I've only ever seen the images of her wearing a wee berry and Shittigatwa. That's like the only thing I've seen about the Christmas episode. So
So
I'm looking forward.
you've escaped all the clips that they've shared of it. Then.
Yeah. I don't know how, but I've
Yeah.
managed to avoid them.
Have you not seen them though? Then just scroll past quickly.
No,
Oh, you haven't seen them.
knowing my luck, I'll have that wee look and they'll appear. But I've managed to avoid them all.
That's good.
I know. It's a
That's good.
miracle. It's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah. But you know what the episode is called, though, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's all you know.
yeah, that's all I know.
Yeah.
To see, it's all I know, and I can see her in her wee berry, and that's it.
Yeah. Because I saw her in Bridgerton. I've seen her in
Yeah,
Bridgerton. She's really good. I think she could be like a Donna type character where maybe she comes back. Um, a bit like her. Maybe that's what they're doing. But we know she's only there this time because they got a new companion
yep. I know.
coming.
It's quite. I've been excited to see what she'd have been like as a companion because I think she is a phenomenal actress. But
Yeah.
maybe she will come.
I was hoping that Millie Gibson could have been the full-time companion for another year.
I think I don't know if she might come back because I feel as though her story's not fully done.
Yeah. I
No,
think she is coming back.
yeah.
She's they announced it that she's coming back. I think at some point, but not as the main character companion. The main companion is going to be this Vereda Sefu, who looks pretty good. She looks like she'd be
Yeah.
a good companion. But from the images I've seen, right, I feel she's a companion of the past with the
Hmm.
clothes she's wearing because it looks like it, you know. Which I would actually like because it's different to have a companion that's from the past rather than from present day for us.
Yeah. Be
Um,
something different as well.
so
And it'd be something good for the doctor.
yeah, and apparently I think she might be involved around maybe Ruby, which would make even more sense. So um, yeah, but I would have rather Ruby have another series all to herself. Um,
Yeah, it would have been good.
yeah, unless this new companion is more involved with Ruby than just being a standalone
Yeah.
companion herself. If that happens, it will all make sense in the end. But yeah, with this Christmas episode, I think it might be. It looks to be. I know you haven't seen anything, but I won't give anything away. But it looks to be one of the better episodes, like Christmas episodes over the years.
Yes.
I might be wrong. I normally am. But it looks good and it looks better. Last few Christmas episodes last year weren't great. I didn't. It was all right, but it wasn't the best.
Yeah.
Um, I think the last good one was the one when Peter Capaldi left. That the one he done when he left. That's been the last good one, I'd
Yeah.
say.
So that's one that I've not seen because, as I say, I kind
Yeah.
of stopped watching Doctor Who kind of. mid Peter Capaldi, Jodie
Yeah,
Whittaker, I couldn't stick with the storylines anymore. And I felt bad because I wanted to support them as the Doctor, but I couldn't watch the episode. I couldn't do it.
yeah, yeah. But you're watching it again now, and then you can watch
Yes,
Christmas.
watching it again now.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm excited, and I've been rewatching some of the older series as well. So it's good having Doctor Who back in my life and enjoying it again.
yeah. And there's going to be a new spin-off as well.
Yeah, so that'll be good.
Yeah, it'd be good. Because I think because what they we're used to like 14 episodes a year, and I think what they're doing is they're doing it with the spin-off. So like 8 in the main series and 4 or 5 in the spin-off. So you're getting the same amount that we're used to, just split in half, basically.
Just, but that's good. It helps keep the momentum going, I think.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. If it's good, we like it. It's good, but we'll have to see. Um,
Yep.
but I hope you have a nice Christmas and everything.
You,
Um,
you too.
yeah, yeah. To anyone seeing this today, Christmas is gone.
Yes, it's been and gone. We're in the new
Yeah,
year.
we're in the new year. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm saying it from what was it, the 20th of December. Next week's Christmas. Um, so enjoy Christmas. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I look forward to talking more about Doctor Who another time. But we have to stop at some point, otherwise we won't stop at all.
I
Um,
know. Been
but
going for ages.
yeah, we've been going for ages. Um, but I think we spoke more about your journey than we have Doctor Who, so that's good.
Good, good.
Um, but it's always good to talk about Doctor Who at the end.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a nice way to finish things off.
yeah, good way to finish it off. But yeah, to everyone, we hope you have a nice rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. But thanks, Kirsty. I hope you have a nice festive period.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.